Miss Ginger Harris. I'm Kim Poole, and I just wanted to thank you. I thought you would be here with us, but when I was raising funds to try to get to the Cameroon uh, for the presentation of the peace conference, you donated, and I appreciated that. And I just wanted you to know that even though you weren't here, someone from your region is going to bring you a small little thank you gift. And so thank you. I hope you see my face, but I see yours for the first time. And so I appreciate that again. You're muted. I can't hear you. So I don't know if anybody in this room that isn't already included actually wants to go to the Summit for the Future and will be there. Today I have to send the names for those that may actually come to New York so that I can get you a bag. I don't know what WILPF International is going to do or what they're doing, but our organization has ECOSOC consultative status, so we can register you, get you a badge so that you can actually go inside of the United Nations, though you won't be able to contribute on the floor a statement because it's really a conversation.
I've been cleared twice today.
So say again.
I have been cleared twice. It should be easy for me.
So okay, so you want a badge. Okay. So then I guess I just would need your first, last name, birthday, and a copy of your passport bio data page. And then we'll submit that
Biodata.
like your passport page with the picture on it.
Okay.
And then what they'll do when you come, you'll have a letter, and of course it'll be without organization name, but we know why you're there. And so you would take it to a small office next to the Ugandan consulate, and then they'll just give you a UN badge so you can use it to go back and forth.
So is this a WILPF, going under WILPF or your organization?
Well, you're going for WILPF, but so that you can get inside of the UN, if that's something you want to do, you would get a badge under my organization.
Under
so
what?
that you can go inside.
Your organization. Okay.
And
Why
then
not WILPF?
well, is WILPF International going to give you a badge to go inside of the UN?
The other don't have enough audit for us. We have to go through another
But
organization.
But my thing is, do they have any allotted for us? Like
Usually
maybe
do.
just one? Do you know if any of those people are from WILPF USA?
I don't know. I thought we were it.
Well, if that's the
There's been
case,
very
maybe
poor
we can.
communication with the representative of International WILPF, which is a lovely woman named Sophie, and also Genevieve in New York. And they don't seem to have interest in the summit. The summit of
Or the Americas at the summit.
Or the Americas.
What is going on?
Well, maybe that's part of what we're discussing, or we'll get around to, but are they able to hear us?
Yeah. But did you all get that? So basically, folks who want to go to the Summit for the Future, and it's interesting because we've been saying Summit of the Future, but the official title, the official title is Summit of the Future. We've been saying Summit for the Future.
Oh, really?
I just realized. So
Anyway.
So yes, send your, what did you say, Kim? Send your first name, last name,
and your bio. I mean, I would see that information on your passport.
So just send your passport biodata page to Kim.
I would even say send it to Tara as the branch contact, and then y'all already have her email.
Yes.
And then she can just forward it to me.
Yes. And let's see how we can pour into Teaching Artists Institute for getting us this incredible.
Oh, no. I'm doing this as well. This is our covert.
I know, but still,
we have to figure out this
system. Like, that's amazing that you've been able to do that. And we have a 109-year-old organization. We haven't been able to do that as much as you have. So let's acknowledge.
Okay, and maybe as we start this session, to explain to those three a word or two about Summit for the Future.
Yes. I'll do that in the intro. Real quick, can you all online, can you what's the sound like? Can you hear Robin when she's talking?
Yeah, can you hear me if I shout a little bit? Can you hear me?
Try talking in a normal volume.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to be normal, but what am I going to say if I'm just going to be normal? I better. I want to shoot. I
You
want to
can-
shoot.
Okay. So we're gonna get started. I'm Tara. I'm gonna be off to the side so that you all can see the rest of the crowd, but I'll make sure to speak up so you can hear me. Okay, so welcome to the 2:30 session, now starting at 2:45. And the title of this session is a conversation. Where is it? Here it is. Report on developments on the U.S. Board of WILPF and DEI with Eileen, Ginger, who's who's on virtual, and then we also have Jan Quarterman here, who's on the board, and then also joining us is Miss Lydia, who is I'm gonna have you introduce yourself, Miss Lydia, but just to brief you all on what we've been doing, those of you who are joining virtually. In addition to the regular annual retreat that Robin puts on for the Vermont branch of WILPF and others who want to join, there's been a few of us here who've been kind of encouraging conversations about WILPF US participation in the UN Summit of the Future, which is coming up on September 21st and 22nd. And that is something that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres initiated back in 2020 with something called the Pact for the Future. And it's really kind of this forward-looking, statewide, like across all nations, international conversation that is incorporating a lot of different things like the SDG goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. And also what's interesting about the Summit of the Future is that it also is talking about technology in a way that a lot of other UN convenings aren't. So there's a lot of interesting things happening in that space. And for the past couple of days, we've been having the conversation amongst ourselves to build consensus about if WILPF US should be involved and how, if so, how should we be involved? And I'm going to be sending out a document that summarizes basically all of this, all of our background, all of what's on the horizon, and what the sessions during this retreat here in Vermont have kind of brought out for everyone. So that's all going to be, sent to you. And this conversation, I'm really excited about this conversation. I would like to frame this next hour as basically a transparency conversation. Let's all get to understand this organization that we're part of, and in particular, WILPF US. So first, let's start with, can you all online take turns introducing yourselves? And then I'm going to make sure that everyone here introduces themselves and what branch they're part of. So go ahead. Let's see, Ginger, can you go first?
Yes, I'm Ginger Harris in the Boston branch for the last, well, I've lived in Massachusetts the last 7 years, maybe the last 4 years with the Boston branch. Previous to that, I grew up in the St. Louis branch, which now is disbanding, unfortunately. Too many of us oldies have died. Anyway, my background, environmental, WILPF, political, progressive political. That's probably enough.
Okay, I'll go next. Lydia, unless you would like to go next, would you like to go next?
Oh, hear us?
Okay. I'm Ellen Thomas, and I'm one of the 2 Ellen techs for WILPF US, and I'm a co-chair of the Disarm Committee, Disarm End Wars, which I have been since 2008. I learned about WILPF in the 1990s, when we were around the time we were launching our voter initiative campaign to abolish nuclear weapons in DC, but never got involved until 2004 when Carol Erner, the late Carol Erner, God bless her, got me involved. And I finally found a home for getting together with people who thought like I did after so many years of always kind of being out of step with other people. And so I'm very grateful for WILPF, and I'm very grateful for the newcomers to WILPF and the people who that I haven't met yet and I'm getting to meet today.
Quick, Ellen, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Very well. Can you,
Um,
quick follow-up, what branch are you part of?
I'm part of the Jane Addams branch.
And what did you say, how did you define your role in WILPF? You said something about tech.
Yeah, I am interested in helping to share information. When I first started vigiling in front of the White House in 1984, I very quickly learned that I didn't know very much about nuclear weapons, and I started gathering information and sharing it with people while I was out there. And then when the internet came along, there were other ways to share it, and now I'm in North Carolina instead of in front of the White House. But I'm really into sharing information and helping others to do so also. And since I seem to have an interest and a bit of a gift for helping out with Zoom, that's one of the things that I do for WILPF. And I also help to maintain the WILPF Smart Facebook page.
And you also are the co-chair of the Disarm Committee, right?
Disarm and Wars Committee, yeah. And I also, on my own, this is sort of my passion, I do nuke news on Google Groups and Facebook, NUCNEWS, if you look it up. People send me information and I pass it along.
Okay, sweet. Ginger, can you quickly unmute yourself and just let us know what your title is in WILPF or what your participation?
Oh, I'm supposed to be secretary to the US board, but I have not done a very good job and we're looking for a replacement for me. I was just elected a year ago or half a year ago. My eyesight is failing, my everything else is failing. But I'm going to try to stick it out as long as I can.
Thank you, Ginger. Okay, Miss Lydia, take it away. Introduce yourself, please. And you're muted if you can unmute yourself. Miss Lydia, you're muted if you can unmute yourself.
Good day, beautiful people. It's very nice to meet you all. My name is Lydia Diamond. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised, but I've been in Vermont 30 years. Just celebrated a couple of days ago. And I'm thankful to meet Robin Lloyd, who has recruited me as a member of WILPF. And I absolutely love it. I am a advocate for poor people, Black people, women, and I always want to be peaceful. I always wanted to have the freedom to be peaceful. So I'm really excited about being a part of WILPF. I'm a grandma of 7. I have 4 adult children. I'm the matriarch of my family. I'm the matriarch in community. And I am honored to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go around and introduce the microphones here. So in self-introductions, what branch you're in, and in particular, you know, if you have an official role or title in WILPF, we'd love to know what that is.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jan Porterman, and I'm from Des Moines, Iowa. And in terms of my role with WILPF US, I don't have a role right now, but I hope to have one very soon in the future. There's going to be a vacancy in January for president. Our current president is term limited, having served 2 terms. And myself and one other person, Diane Blay from Washington, D.C., who's the convener of the Jane Addams branch, are going to run together as co-presidents. So I invite you all to consider our candidacy, and we also want to know what you'd like to see us do. What can we do to make your job easier in the branches? Which is one of our, that's one of our priorities already. What would you like to see us do? I have served as treasurer, so I have an understanding of finances, and I think that'll be helpful for Diane and me. I guess the only other thing I'd like to say, I'm a farmer's daughter, and one of the things that we do in our Des Moines branch is we're very focused on clean water. We don't have it in Iowa. We're one of the biggest contributors to the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico because of our farming practices, and that's one of the things our branch really worked hard on. I think we're making some headway. So, and I'm also part of the Middle East Peace and Justice Action Committee. Very interested in what's health. Thank you.
And I'm Max, and I'm part of the Burlington branch, and I'm not as active as I wish I could be. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Robin of the Burlington branch, and happy to have a family abode here to welcome everyone for the gathering.
And I'm Eileen Kurkowski. I am from the Boston branch, which I got involved with in 2015 and was so impressed with the people. I immediately joined, and it wasn't too long after within a week, I was secretary of the branch because nobody else wanted the position. And then 2 years later, the branch, which also was helping and housing the national office in Boston, was breaking down to move elsewhere because of various things, mainly the building was being sold. And Jan Quarterman happened to come along, and she stayed at my place, and she recruited me for secretary to the board. And I write notes no matter what, and might as well do it for a reason. I appreciated the learning curve of those 3 years on the board. What an eye-opener at all the wonderful things WILPF has done and wanted to do. I have been wanting right from the start to help be diverse. Within the first year, I was trying to bring in more people for the board and for our branches. It wasn't effective, but then again, I was green. I'm still working on that. In fact, I was jumping in the hoops to be part of the DEI plans that George was promoting. Got involved pre-Congress, which I worked on as a member of the program committee. I tend to do a lot of things. I'm in the Disarm Committee, the Earth Democracy meeting, and focus on water for the Congress was their baby and idea. I appreciate the money, Women, Money, and Democracy group, and I swing in and out of that, have actively worked on public banking, trying to bring it to Brockton, which is a big issue for our branch. I am co-chair of the branch with Virginia Pratt, a long timer, and unlike Ginger, I don't think the branch is dying. I just need to re-energize it. And that's my plan. Please give me a holler when I call, because I'm trying to get a feeling for each branch across the nation right now, because I'm the interim membership chair, interim membership development chair. And we're really trying to get a baseline of what you need. So our board will know with the new officers, and I can help facilitate things happening to build new energy, where we can learn new things. And just coming down the pike within the month, we're going to have a field organizer. We're going through second interviews. Jan's part of this. Jan doesn't, she's humble in her presentation, but she's been very, very active with membership development for 5 years with Chilpa Pandy. And I'm working with her, and I talk too much. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to propose 2 minutes for this go around, or we'll never get to anything else.
Yes, yes,
Sorry.
or even 1 minute.
No, I'm glad Eileen spoke a little bit about what's going on with her on the national level. Boston
Project
branch.
of it, yeah.
And so Eileen's even modest in that she inspires the whole group with Virginia Pratt. They have their regular Saturday, a letter writing group, which I'm very but I haven't been so active, but we are inspired by the potential of Boston, which is, University Center of the World Medical. So it's very, very hard to compete. But so I work with WILF also on the international level through Global Women United Against Makeup. So that's myself going again. So I'm hoping to keep doing that. And as I say, we're fortunate to have people like Ginger, Eileen, and Virginia, who always gets her letters out. And she's had quite a few published in the
How's
Good.
the audio on that? Were you all there, Ginger? You could hear that? Was the audio good? Could you hear that?
It's been going in and out.
Okay, I think I'm gonna move this. This is the mic, so I'm gonna move this closer to each speaker.
Thank you, Ellen.
Good.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jill Clark Golub. I spend about half of the year in the Washington, D.C. area where I've lived for actually the majority of my life, and I am in the D.C. branch. And I now spend about half of the year in the Vermont area, and I'm in the Burlington, Vermont branch. And within WILF, I try to do in-person stuff with both of those branches. And I also do a lot of Latin America solidarity work. I'm from a Nicaraguan family, and I'm on the coordinating committee of the Nicaragua Solidarity Coalition. And Ginger, I know, was here last year and heard me speak about Nicaragua. I just got back from Venezuela last month, and we had a great discussion here about Venezuela this morning. And I do a lot of work to stop unilateral coercive measures by the United States.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Pocky Whelan, and I'm an unaffiliated. I'm a WILF member, but I don't have a chapter. But I float in and out of various chapters, particularly the DC folks, and I'm just very happy to be here. This always being at Robin's is renewing, refreshing, and exhilarated, and I'm just so happy to be here. And hi, you wonderful WILF people in the little boxes.
It's great to see you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Pine. I'm in the DC DMV chapter. This is my first time at this beautiful farm at this retreat, and it's really wonderful to be meeting all of you here. So look forward to the conversation.
I too look forward to the conversation. I'm Kim Poole with WILPF DMV. I think we're the largest delegation to be at Robin's this year. And so I'm proud of that. And I look forward to the conversation.
I'm Sheila Harper. I'm with the Philadelphia branch of WILF. I've been a member for approximately 2 years. I have been very much involved in the advancing human rights, anti-racism work. I am focused mainly to do that work within the Philadelphia branch. Occasionally, I pop in and out of the original or whatever the organized designated, but mostly.
The sound is not good.
Oh, sorry.
Or else
Not
people
your-
aren't speaking loud.
Okay, yes, let's try to project our voices. Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm Angie Whitehurst. I'm in the DMV, Washington DC branch. I guess I can tell you, I am a troublemaker. And I'm active with the Poor People's Campaign on the DC State Committee. I participate in another organization called One DC. I'm involved with a paper that advocates to end homelessness nationwide called streetsensemedia.org. I do social justice poetry and write stories and articles for people who are brave enough to let their names be printed. And that's enough for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing this, I guess. But what I want to start with is a Q&A session. Well, actually, first, sorry to those of you online. Yeah, this is like rolled off.
Putting it on the piano.
Chair.
Or the piano stool.
Or the-
Let me move. You put it right.
How about this?
How about the piano stool?
The thing is they can't hear. The microphone needs to be closer. Like they can't hear if it's over there. So we just have to keep moving it, I think. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna keep moving it. So now we're gonna clear it here. Okay, let's start with this. We're gonna have 10. Let's
introduce yourself.
I'm Tara. I'm from the DC branch. Hi, nice to meet you all. Okay, let's start with this. I have these little pieces of paper, and what I want to start with is, have you ever had a question about how WILPF US runs, who's in charge of what, any kind of transparency questions that you have? Let's set aside the next 10 minutes. I just want to hear questions, no commentary. Let's start getting that critical thinking going and understand more about this organization that we're part of. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Jill.
Where does WILPF get its funding? I had no idea there was government funding.
And are you talking about WILPF US or WILPF International?
I guess both.
Okay, so first question, where does WILPF US and International get its funding? Next question.
How does an idea become an issue committee?
Okay, great question. Robin asked the question, how does an idea, be a little bit more specific, Robin?
Well, we've had lots of ideas here.
As in when an individual branch member has an idea, how does that become an issue committee?
Yeah, or a group like this. Can we create an issue committee here?
Okay, so basically the question I think should be is, how does an individual WILPF member grow an idea into action? Next question. And online, please also let me know if you have any questions. Raise your hand and or make a peep. Any other questions?
With respect to what Robin asked, I think it's valid to ask, how does a WILPF member or a group create an issue committee, just as a matter of how to, what's the procedure?
For example, procedure for issue committee.
It's almost empty.
Issue committee. Okay, next question. Ms. Sheila, it looked like you were going to ask a question.
We are a peace organization. What specific actions are we doing specifically? Peace. Concern internally. I'm not clear whether I feel a sense of peace.
Interesting. Okay, so let's make that question a little bit more like something that someone might be able to answer in a few minutes. How about if it's the question might be, how does WILF US track and categorize
Good.
the various ways in which its membership is?
Showing, acting, peace.
Okay, great. How does WILF US track and categorize actions for peace?
Well, I mean, but maybe the extension to that is, how does Will deal with conflict resolution internally?
Thank you. That was the question.
Oh, that
I
was the
thinking,
question.
but I was
Okay.
trying to be diplomatic.
Yeah, same. And I think they're both questions. So I'm going to keep this card. This one to clarify is, how do we track and categorize all the different things that we know? If each one of us is doing so much, then we know that as soon as you get more Wilfers in a room, it's just going to be exponential, the amount of stuff that we do towards peace and freedom. So how does WILF US track and organize all of that? That's one question. And then the next question is, I would say, what mechanisms does WILF US use to transform conflict?
Right. That's right.
Internally, thank you.
Yes.
What mechanisms?
And then of course the question is there conflict internally? And can we talk about that today?
Yes.
Okay. Robin, very, very, how very conspicuous of you. What mechanism?
I really think you're sharp person, but that one was a flip.
Transform conflict internally. And then the other question is, is there conflict internally? And do we want to talk about that today? I guess. Is there internal conflict within WILF US? And can we discuss that today? Yes.
That we discussed that because I heard part of the conversation and not the beginning. And I don't understand what
Okay, got it. I'm going to put this over here for a very special chunk of the session, I think is what we're going to do.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
The first is, who determines what goes on WILF USA's Facebook page and other social media platforms? The part B of that is, are there other social media platforms outside of Facebook? The other question, when you're ready.
I think Ellen would know the answer to that.
Social media.
Ellen Thomas.
Platforms. So who determines what goes on WILF US Facebook page and other social media platforms? And what was the?
And does WILF USA have other social media platforms outside of Facebook?
Okay, so I'm gonna actually put this into also like a broader thing of like what is the whole communications ecosystem of WILF US? Describe WILF US communications ecosystem. Okay, wait, Kim, what was your other question?
So the other question is, who determines who hires the Secretary General, and who is also in charge of doing all the hiring? Does membership have a role in that?
For WILF International.
Yeah. So who decides or hires the Secretary General?
Hires the WILF International.
Any WILF staff in any section.
Well, isn't the board?
And I guess we'll know soon enough. Any WILF staff member in any section, and does membership have a role in that?
Section staff. Engage. Okay, great. Miss Angie, what was your question?
Well, let's see. It's not a heavy question, but I was interested in growth, diversity, vision, past, present, and future. How is how is an equilibrium reached between those three areas, and transformation if needed? How is it achieved?
Okay, I really like that question as a kind of like, that's almost like if we answer that question, we have a really good idea of our mission. So I'm gonna let you write that question as like on this piece of paper in a way that you write your question so that it can actually, you could just hand that card to someone and someone would be able to say, yes, I know how to answer that question.
Transcribe everybody.
Well, yours is answering your question is the mission
I
thing.
had another question.
Uh-huh.
And because I don't know, but I am interested in how is this organization going to improve its communications, tech skills, and collaboration and cooperation. Because everybody's doing so many things, but there's not any way where everybody can just sit and say, let me click in, link in. And
Okay.
I'm interested in that.
Great. So in order to understand where we can go, we need to understand where we are. So I'm going to write that as on the bottom half of this one, describe WILPF US comms ecosystem, and then what plans are already in place to improve the entire comms ecosystem. And then we can add in later, there can be one that is like, okay, well, if we don't have active plans right now for improving that, then who is the right in this whole ecosystem? Where do we go in with let's see, Robin's question of how does an individual WILPF member grow an idea into action? Then once we get this question answered, we can answer that question. Okay, so
We have a whole weekend worth of questions.
yes, we have, and that's why I'm like, each one of these could be a Vermont retreat in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of these questions. So now we have, now, yeah. Mhm.
Do we have a strategic plan?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we want to have a hard stop at 4, right, Robin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in 45 minutes. So we're obviously not gonna get to all of these, right? And I want to set aside, let's say 10 minutes for this one about the internal conflicts that exist. Is there internal conflict within WILPF US, and can we discuss that today? Yes, the last 10 minutes will be dedicated to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to answer as many of these as we can, not spending more than 5 minutes on them. So let's try not to have commentary and follow-up questions. Let's get out our notepads and our pens, and let's be ready to be a little bit like a prosecutor, okay? When you have follow-up questions, when you have follow-up comments, write them down, and then see if you can go to that person who's answering the question and have a one-on-one conversation with them and see if you can value their time somehow, maybe make them a meal, or if you want to like send them some money to buy some coffee or whatever. Let's see if we can pour in to each other, offer something when we need something. So let's start with this one. This one's a good one. So it's 3:18 in 5 minutes. Who can answer? If anyone can answer, raise your hand. Where does WILPF US and International get its funding? Jan.
I can answer for WILPF US.
Okay.
Our major source of income is and our second source is food.
Can't hear.
Okay, so Jan said that, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I said our major source of income is contributions from our members, and our second highest source of income is dues. And I'll just give you the total. Our total income projected for 2024 is 150,000.
So little.
And that's US, right? US section.
So first of all, to answer your question, yeah, nothing from governments or corporations. And what was your question, Ellen?
And that's the US section, that isn't
That's
international.
correct.
And you said 120.
150,000 is our projected income for 2024.
Okay. Okay, 150,000.
But that's-
Does anyone know, would anyone know any information about where WILPF International gets its money?
So on their website, if you go there, you'll see, they're pretty self-explanatory. I said, on the website, it alludes to some of the funding sources, on WILPF International. But I defer to the board to, better understand what's happening with the mother organization. And so as a member, I won't speak on that. I'll pass again back to the board.
I just wanted to explain what I know about the WILPF International finances, because I'm currently part of the UNO board. I'm a new member on the UNO board. And
What does
our
UNO stand for again?
I can't-
Oh,
United. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm sure. Look it up. But what our role is to we have fiduciary responsibility for the money that comes directly to the United States. So we have to make sure that we're following procedures based on how that money comes in. So, and some of that is from, I've just joined the board, so I don't know enough about it to say much more than that, but some of it does come from governments. Not the US government, other
right.
governments.
The WILPF International does get from international governments.
Yeah.
And so I will read this just because at least it's in the words of WILPF International and not my own. The majority of WILPF International Secretariat income comes from the dedicated donors and government partners. We are very grateful. It says, the majority of WILPF International Secretariat income comes from the dedicated donors and government partners. We're very grateful for the generous support of our donors. While respecting and preserving WILPF's independence, they help us achieve our mission in promoting sustainable peace and strengthening feminist movements all around the world. WILPF is pleased to have the assistance and support of our donors so that we can achieve our goals. To that end, we neither seek nor accept donations that will impair our ability to freely address social justice issues around the world. The global WILPF movement is comprised of a network of national sections and groups of international secretariat, and the donor and governmental partners are as follows: Irish Aid, Government of Ireland. You can go to the Irish Aid website, Chanel Foundation, and you can go to the Chanel website, the government offices of Sweden, specifically the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And you can go to the Foreign Affairs website for Sweden, the Norwegian Agency for Development Corporation, aka NORAD. You can go to their website, the Oak Foundation, Sigrid Rousting Trust, SIDA, the Swedish International Development Corporation Agency, the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, and of course, UN Women, Ville de Genève, New Zealand, Foreign Affairs and Trade, New Zealand's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, HEX, Sapiens, Open Society Foundation, aka George Soros, aka George Soros, the Government of Canada, the Government of Liechtenstein, that postage stamp company, UK Foreign Commonwealth and Developmental Office.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, one quick thing, less than 5 minutes.
I just want to add one quick thing, and that is that we have an assessment. WILPF US members have an assessment to the international. It's about $4.50 per member.
Ah, so they also get money from us. They get money from sections. Section memberships dues go to, okay. Assessment, what did you call it? Assessment fee?
It's an assessment. It's about 450.
450 to international. From
member per year. No, it did get waived in 2021.
But it's back in
2020 and earlier, it was $15 per member. Then 2021, it was waived. 2022 and going forward, it's about 450.
Fascinating. Okay, good to know. Okay, moving on to the next question. No. We can't do that. I mean, we really can't. Just write it down and share it if we have time, okay? Okay, next question. How does an individual, so it's 3:24, so we have till 3:29. How does an individual WILF member grow an idea into an action? Who would like to take that question? Anyone online? Ellen?
Well, all I really would like to say on this is that I put into the chat, the wilfus.org/our-work/ and that you'll find WILF US takes action, justice and peace and other issues through initiatives and actions of our members. And that is telling you how to turn into an issue committee. It has to have 5 members. Minimum of 5 members with geographic diversity, have meetings at least quarterly, disseminate to committee members and maintain for at least 2 years meeting minutes, have the opportunity at least every 3 years for changes in leadership, maintain web page content, updating as required, and at least every 18 months. Develop objectives and actions with at least some measurable outcome-oriented goals. Develop its own projects to achieve the issue committee goals, and welcome any WILF member who wishes to participate.
Awesome. Okay, so we will make sure that folks get that link. Are there other ways for WILF members to turn something into action outside of doing an issue committee, Eileen?
There are often subcommittees within an issue committee. I was interested because of someone who used to come to these meetings here in AI. She started with drones. I was working on drones for years. And when she switched to AI, I was clueless but fascinated. So I began a subcommittee within the Disarm Committee. And although I don't follow all the guidelines of a full issue committee, I do try to report something once or twice a month of interest in education, sometimes actions, article and P&F. Others can do this. This happened also with public banking, which was picked up by, well, even Earth Democracy, because one of the chairs, the co-chair of that, was involved with this in California. And then Mary Sanderson was further interested in banking and had this well presentation we just got yesterday. There are subcommittees in each one of these is the point.
Great. Go ahead, Jan.
Well, I just want to say too that branches are free to initiate projects on their own. I'll use the book that I talked about earlier as a project that we did on our own. So we didn't have to get anybody's permission to do it. We did apply for a mini grant from WILF US, and we were accepted for a $2,500 mini grant. So they helped us, but it was totally a branch initiative.
Okay. Anything else? Any other ways that we can think of?
Always collaboration with others and vice versa, cross nurture each other.
Okay, sweet. So to summarize, it looks like there are basically 3 avenues for an individual WILF member to grow an idea into action, and basically that's organize an issue committee, which has all those rules that Ellen showed us. Then you can also have a subcommittee with it under one of those committees, or your branch can apply for a mini grant. Those are the 3 ways that we have avenues already for an individual WILF member to turn an idea into action.
Yeah, I just would say too, any branch can start.
And any branch can start a project. But you really, yeah, and this is, okay, cool. So, is there any requirement that the branches notify? No. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's move on to the next question then. I want to get into this communications ecosystem one. Describe WILF US communications ecosystem. Do you think Ellen would be a good person to talk about that? Okay, Ellen, can you for like 2 minutes, tell us what you know about the ecosystem?
Well, I'm a member of the communications committee, so I suppose I should know something about it. I'm trying to learn. Michael Ippolito, it's too bad he's not here because he's the communications guy, so.
He is here.
He is here. Okay.
Should we have him provide this ecosystem summary?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, great. Michael, do you feel ready to spend 2 minutes talking to us about the describing the WILPF US communications ecosystem?
Yeah, I 3 minutes and it's recorded.
Okay, great.
Sure. Hold on a second.
You're gonna play the recording?
Yeah.
Can you put it next to this so that they
Where's
can
the
hear?
speaker?
This is the speaker.
Hi, Alan.
And it's the
Hi,
microphone.
Ginger.
And it's the microphone.
And Steve, where is it?
Right here.
So. Dear members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As we consider the best use of our resources, I propose we focus on enhancing our internal communication and empowering our branches and committees rather than hiring an executive director. WILF's decentralized structure has been key to our impactful work at local and global levels. However, our resilience on outdated communication methods such as email limits our effectiveness. To address this, I propose the adoption of Microsoft 365, which includes Microsoft Teams, to modernize our operations, streamline communications, and ensure that all members are informed and aligned. The funds originally allocated for an executive director can be better utilized by supporting our branches and issue committees. This includes enhancing their capacity with field organizers and other specialists, improving outreach, social media presence, and overall organizational impact. Additionally, these funds can be used for organizational grants to support mission-driven projects proposed by our branches, issue committees, and groups of members working on various initiatives. Importantly, we can also allocate resources to support college and high school students. By offering small grants for internships, we can attract young talent and foster a new generation of WILF members. Furthermore, providing grants to form and support WILF groups in high schools and colleges will help us engage a younger demographic and expand our reach. To support this initiative, we plan to launch a crowdfunding campaign on startsomegood.org. This platform is renowned for helping mission-driven projects succeed with numerous success stories. Raising funds through Start Some Good will not only help us cover the first year's cost of adopting Office 365, but also strengthen our financial foundation. Additionally, establishing a sister 501c3 organization will secure us 300 Office 365 licenses annually, valued at $22,000 at no cost, and a substantially reduced rate for additional licenses. This long-term strategy provides significant savings and ensures we have the necessary tools to operate efficiently and effectively.
Okay.
With a focused organizational goal of improving the communication infrastructure, we will strengthen WILF US, helping us achieve our overarching objectives.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I'm gonna ask you a series. Huh? I know, because this doesn't answer the question that I asked, which is describe WILF US communications ecosystem currently. So I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, and I would love it if you could just answer the succinct answer to that question.
Sure.
Okay, so does WILF US, what platforms does WILF US already have social media presence?
Platforms? Sure. What's up, y'all? So we have Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. We have Twitter, X, but that's that as well.
Okay.
So
we also have a website.
I mean, you said social media, but yeah, we have a website.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a YouTube.
We have a YouTube. Okay.
Yep. We don't have an official TikTok, but members have some TikToks. Robin is on a TikTok.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Once a year.
Yeah.
And then what about how does the board communicate with each other?
They have a board. They have the board meetings. Yeah, I used to host the board. Now they do Zoom.
Zoom, how often?
Yeah, Ginger could answer that better, Eileen, because I've been on that one.
Ellen.
This second round of being, I've only been in this position as the interim for a few months. And they, basically, they have a meeting for the board every other month. This is all lined up at the 2 months before the January. And in between months, we have steering meetings, planning meetings, discussion meetings, trying to resolve and look through things more carefully. That's what happens. It's usually on the, Saturday, second Saturday of the month, whatever. We can go for that detail.
Okay, so basically there's a board and there's a steering committee.
There's a lot more than that though too.
And the steering committee, I believe, Eileen, doesn't that welcome people coming, other members coming in and they have a minute to give a pitch?
That's right.
Is there a organizational design map that shows like who are the different people? An organizational chart?
Well, there's a blurb in the bylaw that sets forth what.
Okay, sweet. Is that easily accessible? Like, can we pull that up?
Yeah, it's on the website.
Okay, sweet. Do you know where that is, Michael?
The bylaws, I do believe it's at the resources on the website.
Okay, if you can pull that up, I think that would be really helpful, but we're gonna move on to the next question. So
One more thing
yeah.
to add. There are discussion groups on issues sometimes in between the steering and the board meetings. Because we can't always get all of our work done at a meeting.
Okay, got it. Is it frozen? That's weird.
I mean, the video.
Yeah.
Share.
Oh, on the issue committees.
Okay, if you can figure it out, if not, that's fine. I know, but maybe it'll unfreeze. Okay, moving on to the next question. So basically, it looks like we have we have various kind of online platforms, and then we have communication channels for the leadership, and that's just WILPF US, the communication channels for the issue committees and all of that. That's like a whole nother. So
we had Slack too.
And Slack.
Yeah.
So
that's not as active anymore.
Sorry, that's only half the part, because the other part is like, so who do we, if we want to put something on those platforms, do we like send it to you?
Yeah, so we can you can send it to me if there's a post. Facebook, we have a group of people. Jan's one of them, Ellen Thomas is one of them, Mary Beth is one of them, Cindy Domingo.
And
but
like,
if we
you're talking
send
about the official
USA
USA page,
yeah,
not the little group.
No.
Okay.
But basically, if we send anything to you, you will be able to get it up on the platforms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, totally.
And that's technically your role, right?
Well, not really anymore. It used to be. Now it's an interesting kind of like so the board is a little bit split on any type of funding for things, on a lot of things. And so one of the challenges, and this is what Darian actually asked me to do, is write a CV of all the things I've done and accomplished for the organization, because due to the lack of communication and like understanding, people didn't know a lot of things that went on, were successful and happened, and then would try to cut funds and try to save money always, not realizing that they had, like, for example, our Facebook was doing great. I think I told you all that before. And so yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's where
great, give them the numbers.
Oh yeah, it was 1,000, like, you know, likes, shares, comments were always like 1,000 plus. Ellen and I would, before you got like 100, we'd be like, oh, 200, 300, we'd be like, the reach would be up to 25,000 for a post or something. And thanks Ellen. No, she's screen sharing. But
and you said that's not your job anymore.
well, no, it's I mean, I do like, so for example, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, I put together a solid post and do it. But like, you know, so that right now there's the role and responsibility that I have, what I'm working on right now is implement, like, moving forward, a comprehensive communications platform, which we direly need while helping launch the new website, which those two things are like been the main focus right now. And helping in any other ways, like, you know, I'm there for social media and things like that. But I think the attitude of the organization was, for the some part, we can handle it. We did have a situation with they wanted to hire a subcontractor to post on Instagram, but like when I checked their Facebook, it was like a really shady, like, you know, when you have a person who has like one friend, you know, like, and they wanted to give the person the keys to our social media, and I was like, yeah, let's not do that. And then it was like a big deal because like I stopped the thing, but I was like, I'm just trying to be safe, you know, because like you want to give someone access to our social media, and who is this person that we've never seen? You're saying there was some.
Is this a diversion?
Well, no, I think that kind of ties into like how people will attempt to draw at things that are, yeah.
One of the things that I have found is the amount of emails, and I've discussed it with individual members and what ends up happening because there's so many emails coming from
Okay, yeah.
all over the
Miss
place.
Sheila is talking about the email problem, which we all know about, Miss Sheila. All of us
But
are
we
also
need a
suffering that.
resolution, and I just want to say, I believe that what Mike introduced here on the Microsoft 365 might be a solution. So I suggest that you really consider it, because I'm telling you, nobody's getting all the information. Nobody's reading all of it.
Okay.
Working, I don't.
Okay.
I heard about it 3 days ago.
Okay.
That comes to the whole package.
Okay, so this is an example actually of, is there internal conflict within WILPF US? So let's maybe pin the rest of this, how we're feeling right now, what we're talking about, and see if in the last 10 minutes we can figure out what, obviously there is internal conflict. And so maybe this is, I think this is the next question that we should ask. Okay, we're gonna spend 5 minutes on this, and then basically that's our 10 minutes.
Did any of them have a question?
We already like got all the questions.
Okay, correct.
So here's the question, here's the next question, 5 minutes for this one. What mechanisms does WILPF US use to transform conflict internally?
So actually, yeah, that's one of the challenges we have, because like when there's, say, a disruptor, we don't actually have an internal process. And I've tried to talk about that a lot.
Okay, so basically we don't have an internal process.
but
Not at all. Does anyone else think,
interoperability.
does anyone else think of that we do, Eileen?
Again, this is for future. CC Anderson and I have been working on a peace seekers contract that had been designed a year or so ago and refined, and then we further refined it. We are on hold right now because International is doing something similar, and we want to see their outline and format.
And that was called the peace team, right? Okay. International has that peace team. That's what they call it?
That's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a mediating team.
It's
right.
a mediating team that has had a lot of experience. There's some long time peace negotiators in many of the sections, particularly in Europe.
Okay. And is the peace seekers contract, is that a
it's not existent right now. We're working on it.
You're working on it, and it's based on something that you've seen out in the wild and you found it and now you want to take it and apply it, or is it something that's grown organically?
That's where it started from. Lots of brain power started it. I come from many directions, and we were trying to refine it to hone in more to our national issues.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Any other ones? Jan, can you think of anything? Okay.
No, and well, just to say, so restorative justice is something that, you know, we have, that there's been talks at times to attempt to, you know, have that be something, and like here at, like, say, Wing Farm, this would be a great place to model an example of it, you know, because we can sit in a circle and such. It is a little bit it doesn't land the same way, I feel like, on Zoom. I mean, you can do it, but like, and you can do it, and I've actually done it before with lots of different organizations. So, you know, I've trained and am trained in restorative justice. But yeah, that would be a really helpful
But we
thing.
don't currently have a mechanism, but you think that we could
Restorative
implement
justice
restorative justice as another
as an
tool.
example. Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, that would be really
Okay,
helpful.
great. Jan, your turn.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on something that Michael brought up earlier, and that's that there's been conflict over money. Okay, I'll give you an example. I've already mentioned that our projected income for 2024 was 150,000. Our projected expenses are 280,000. So we've been drawing from reserves. So that has brought up discussion. Sometimes the discussion, needs to be resolved.
Where do we have reserves?
In checking and savings, and we have a small stock fund.
So we're operating at a deficit, but we have money that we can pull out of. for
Right now we
reserves.
do. Today we do.
Okay, can you say how much we have in there?
Somewhere, I'm gonna guess. This is the result. We had a large bequest in 2021, 350,000. There's still some of that left. So I'm gonna say 200,000 plus.
200,000 in reserves. Okay, cool. Okay, yes.
Projected 150,000 of the projection. How close are we to?
Very close. We reconcile every 2 months, and so July it was running very close, and expenses were running a little under.
And expenses were
Income was running right as projected, and expenses were a little under.
Expenses was how much again?
280.
280.
Gonna eat up those.
Well, thanks.
Yes. Okay, Robin, go ahead.
Okay, to put the finger in the wound, like over a year ago, a white woman in WILF said to a Black woman, "You are a racist." That woman has not forgotten that phrase, brings it up every time she can, trying to make that woman feel stupid and guilty and so on, and has been, I feel, one of the things that's been should be worked through. Like what she's, Black people are not, it's not that they're not racist, they can be prejudiced, but they can't be racist because they don't have the power behind them as Black people to be racist against white people. Am I saying it somewhat succinctly? But well, anyway, that
Other scholars don't either.
the fact either we need to work this out and have a anti-racism workshop or something, but not to have these things festering and used continually to demean the woman who said that, who is on this call.
Okay, I'm gonna, thank you, yeah. Well,
Teresa.
yeah, well, these are individual situations. I think that the organization should go back to the time when we had Nikki. Nikki was taking care through all kinds of very advanced social psychological processes to each one of the chapters in the United States. And I just thought she was wonderful. And I felt we had and I went to her 2 or 3 times on an internal conflict. This is with us, our local chapter.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think that we still need to work on that internal conflicts, nothing to do with money, nothing to do with someone stepping out of bounds and using the razor. This is really, I think, extremely important as times get tight, as pressure gets worse, as the society deteriorates. I think we need to work on this internal conflict, at least have some methods and some policy whereby we can do some resolution. And I'm not going to get into the details because I'm not that.
May I?
Wait, I think I'm gonna.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
give-
want to
I'm
add
gonna-
to that.
I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give us an invitation. Okay, I wanted to take. Well, okay, we have 10 more minutes left. Okay, let's take 3 deep breaths together, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we can, because Michael has something to say in response to that. Eileen has something to add to it. And I just want to see in 10 minutes, let's have a conversation where we imagine that in 10 minutes, we can transform this conflict. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. Okay. And I know you don't want to get into it, Ellen, but I think you can, especially given the conversation we had this morning, right? I really think that we can do it. I think that we can be peace growers right here. Okay.
Here comes the policy of sex.
I know. So, okay. So let's take 3 deep breaths together. Okay. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Okay. So, Ellen, you just shared something. Michael is going to respond to that.
Okay, so
very briefly, if
it's
possible.
going to be very briefly. First, I'd like to propose that we model a restorative justice circle here today. Second, and regarding Nikki, and I have the receipts for this if you ever wanted to call me on it. She was like not white, right? And she would communicate like she would really communicate her disdain and frustration with working here, and it was maddening for her, and that she wasn't the first and only person like that has come and gone, and I was the person they would confide in, because talking with certain members and people was so much that it was like traumatic almost for them, because sometimes in calls and such, it's almost like an inevitability that it's going to happen, and we don't have a practice of restorative justice, which I hope we can embrace, because it's a simple thing of just sharing, and just letting it be shared without interruption, talking peace, community agreements, and really it's us modeling peace. And if we can't do it here, then where?
Okay. Eileen, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say is 2 things. One, we're in the process of hiring someone who has some skills in this. That's a field organizer. We are hoping that they have skills in negotiating. We're fielding those questions for the second run of interviews. So they'll be doing something like what Nikki did, except fewer branches. One, I don't know how to say this. I have tried to get nonviolent communication aboard at least 3 times. I have worked with somebody who's been practicing this through Buddhism for 30 years. I vigil with him on Mondays. I am convinced. I've seen him interact with some of the people who get into my face regarding Gaza versus Israel. And 20 minutes down, and they're agreeing to something. He's cool. And I want that ability and the processes that were required to look in and respond appropriately. I'd like everybody, every branch to be totally trained in something like nonviolent communication. That is a preventative medicine thing, and that was my specialty as a nurse practitioner for 40 years. It's a likely thing to come from my mouth.
Okay, Max, were you going to say something?
I'm going to advocate again for NVC, nonviolent communications.
Okay.
I think we can get some of the literature and begin to share it, and we don't have to go into we don't have to necessarily retain staff from nonviolent communications, or we could get a trainer.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Restorative justice circle.
Let me just see if anyone else wants to say something before. Does anyone else want to say something before we hand it to Michael? No?
No. Saying, do you want to see about doing a restorative justice circle?
Well, we can't do it in 7 minutes.
No, we can't. But what I'm saying is today.
Good idea, though.
Today, I mean,
I think we do need to try it, because I really do. Since I've seen a lot of people coming and going. There have been times when I felt like, because I'm like, oh no, I'm not following.
I thought going.
Yeah, and we don't want that. Yeah, we don't want that. So I think that we need to try it in terms of something. We have to do something because otherwise people are just dropping off and just disappearing.
Okay, so
We gotta fix it.
great. So let's I want to hear from as many of us as possible in the next few minutes about examples of restorative justice that have actually worked. Can you, Miss Angie, are you going to give an example of a restorative justice incident or program that actually works?
Yeah, okay, before we do that, there are two different things. Nonviolent communication is different from restorative justice.
Okay, so either way, right now I want to hear as many stories as possible of things that work for conflict transformation, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead, Miss Angie. Tell us as briefly as possible.
I'll tell you real quick.
Okay.
I'm trained in restorative justice and restorative circles. I've done ND training as well. I'm on the steering committee for the DC Peace Team, which does international work. And I've worked and taken courses with the Minnesota Peace people and with Rivera's son. I don't know if any of you know her.
Yeah.
And I did the immersion program for 2 years with the River Phoenix.
And have you actually seen it work?
Yeah, I've seen it work.
Can you think of one time that was really powerful when you were like, wow, this is when the day
There's been several organizations that had issues with sexual harassment, that had issues with respect and disrespect.
And you saw in one of those organizations, you saw this.
I saw all of this, participated in it, and helped resolve it.
And it really now the
works.
organization is
Restorative
thriving.
justice circles are good for groups like this that are volunteer to start with. And at the point where you grow, then you might want to look at doing an ND process. But for immediately right now, it's a way to get people to get in a circle, to agree, to speak to each other. And it's a process. It doesn't happen like that, but it does work.
Absolutely. It's a commitment, a long-term relationship, probably the longest term one will have. Go ahead.
So I'd like to offer to the basket two successful forms of conflict transformation. I think first it's important to make sure you define the goal. So we're not trying to solve problems. Our problems are not going to go away, but maybe through the process of working through difference, we can maybe become something even better. You may not ever change, but it doesn't mean that we can't do this work effectively together. And perhaps that'll motivate us to tolerate each other better. And so I draw first as an African-centered woman from the country of Rwanda. They experienced incredible genocide, and we would, in the Kinyarwanda language, use Gakaka. Gakaka translates into Kinyarwanda as the short grass, and it's a model used out of the culture, but I'll describe for you quickly how it is practiced. Basically, when you offend the community, you're not ostracized. You're even brought a step closer to the community that you offend, and you're put into the center of the circle and the community members. And remember that the operative word or the main word is community. You can only do this when you're in union already with the people that you're having the conflict with. So it's perfect as a model for a group like this that plans to work together, whether they have problems or not. I think first celebrating that even if I don't like you or we having problems, we all choose to stay and have this conflict, because the worst kind of conflict is when you decide to leave. And so if everybody in conflict is still here, that's a win. And so first and foremost, we have to celebrate that. And so that means we're still in community, even when we disagree and have problems. So in Gakaka, or the Kinyarwanda language, short grass, they create a circle, the community, and the one who has offended goes into the center of the circle. And the community reminds that person of all of the things that make them who they are, as it relates to the community, all the positive things. So for example, if you felt like Ellen Thomas was wrong when she said what she said to Miss Teresa, maybe you think it's right. But if you agree that, no, maybe you shouldn't have said that, or maybe how you said it or when you said it wasn't right, then she would be put into the middle of the circle. And the community around her, inclusive of, I guess, Miss Teresa, would begin to say all the things that she's done right? Because she's not only the extinction of what she did in that one time when she said something wrong, your character is a matter of inputs. And so if you have a bank and you've deposited, then the one time that you make a withdrawal, right, it doesn't completely deplete what you've deposited. And so the community would now say to her, all the things that she's done well, like this is who you are, this is who you are. And that reinforcement is supposedly supposed to help reestablish the balance. And so I'm not an expert on Gakaka, I'm not Rwandan, I don't speak Kinyarwanda, but I do draw from the best of what Pan-Africanism and the culture has to offer me as an African-centered woman, and that is one of the best models. And so I encourage you all to consider that as a lens for maybe developing what will be conflict resolution within WILF USA. And so again, Gakaka, Gacaca, a Kinyarwanda word that means short grace.
Okay,
Spell
wait,
it again,
hold
please.
on, hold on, we only have, yes.
Spell it again.
Were you, did you want to say something, Ellen? Okay. Wait, hold on.
That goal is important because when someone apologizes 5 times and the person continues to repeat the story, what is the goal? To accept the apology would be my thing, but maybe that's not enough.
Yeah, maybe that's not enough.
And I think apology is not what I described, because it's easy to say a
What would
word.
it be for something?
Wait, hold on. Actually, before, this is great. This is actually perfect. So keep that in mind. Now I want to hear real quick in -1 minute. Does anyone have an example of something that's really worked in terms of a initial step for how someone says, okay, I've been harmed and I want to submit the complaint, or I want to, like, in a group like this, let's just imagine that if we all lived in the same house and there was like a box that you could like write and say, this person hurt my feelings, and put it in the box. Something like that. Does anyone have any examples in the restorative justice model or within organizations that they want to bring up right now that really stands out in terms of an actual, and this is, again, Michael, this is an actual process. So it's going to sound like I go to this person.
Right.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like this is something that I use often in school, and like sometimes when students try to get at you or what have you, there's a process that I use, and I will even use my body language, and it's actually kind of nice and close to the ground. I'll kind of kneel and talk with them as reduce myself and just share that, I forgive, even though, like, say I was the one wronged. Like, I acknowledge a forgiveness with compassion and empathy. I'm there to support them and create the space, and and I invite them to talk it through with me.
Okay.
Because
Maybe
it
works with adults who are, not in the same
Well, I
classroom.
do with adults too, though.
Uh-huh.
I do with my parents at work.
And in an organization, if they have a personnel department like we have, and with somebody in it now.
Who's that?
CC Anderson. She's a member who came in through Teresa, got some her feet wet in not the program, AHR. She's a kind of a co-chair or chair, well, she's not chair of that. I'm not sure what her position was, but she got appointed by the board membership, not the board. The membership voted her in this past year, and so she's been personnel chair. That's why I was working with her on this.
Okay, so we already have someone that in theory we can like email to let them know when we have a complaint.
Yes.
To initiate a restorative justice process.
Sometimes they want a written report. Sometimes it could be, I don't know, but some way of.
Okay, so we already have a personnel person. Does she get paid?
No, this is all volunteer.
Okay, that's not necessarily a good thing. Okay, so then is there an expectation?
Organization.
Right, of course, but
maybe a position.
Right, exactly. Okay, so and then is there any expectations around how responsive they should be? Like, do we have the idea that, are there any processes in place as to where would we look to see the position description of someone who's called personnel chair?
I think it should be very briefly in bylaws.
It's more directed at staff to leader.
Staff to leader, so not necessarily member to member. Okay, got it. Okay, so then I think we have our, the thing that we need to, before we even talk about a restorative justice process and what that could look like and how it could work for us, is that we need to somehow figure out what is the right mechanism to initiate. So for, especially because we have this personnel chair who's volunteer, who's not, it's not in her job description, and I don't think it would be right to expect her to be the one to deal with
the complaint. That's all you asked.
Okay, that's a great question. So I think the next step should be that we should ask CC Anderson if she's willing to be the recipient of complaints. And then if she is, great. If not, then we should find someone else who is. And
just a receiver. The second is something like that peace seekers process that may get adapted from the international. That is actually bringing in uninvolved people among trained members.
And how far
sitting and talking with the two involved. It's a process that is
how much of the peace seekers contract has been written?
It's almost polished, finished, almost.
Okay. Okay.
We had a different proposal here that I liked a lot. I mean, I'm wondering if that could incorporate some of the community process that you were talking about. Kim was talking about.
I know we serve justice too.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a process that we use, only because I respect Ms. Robin so much, and I feel like she is this for this organization. So I feel like Ms. Robin is an example for this organization that really speaks to my cultural lens again. So we really value the elder class, and eldership and elder council is essential in anything we do. And I know a world that just wants to be forever young, and everybody values that. Sometimes here in Turtle Island, it's not held in such high regard. But in our sisterhood, the Sheroes, if we have a conflict, you have to first identify and take it to an elder, because we feel it's a more sacred place. Because in our sisterhood, the elders are most vested in maintaining, for some reason. So they're the most vested in wanting to actually see the conflict resolved, and they're not going to be catty. They're not looking for kiki, they're not going to carry a bone, because there's so many elders in WILPF. I don't know who the elders would be. But I feel like when I think about this work, when I think about, what I've seen of the organization, and again, that's not much. I've just been here since February. But I feel like based on your history, based on her history, I mean, her grandmother was one of the original ones. She's surely an elder for WILPF USA. And so I would just say if every region or WILPF USA identified who are the elders, and that they be the first point of contact for conflict, if they're willing to serve in that capacity. They've already served so much. So if they have the energy, but something tells me they're resilient enough because they care enough about the future of WILPF to want to really solve the problem.
I really, really like that. I really, really like that idea.